Hi guys, it's Anya. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Monday. At least it's Monday for me right now as I'm filming this. I thought that this week we could just do a simple little mood read with me type video. I'm just in the mood to binge read books, really. I have been in a really good reading mood at the moment. I feel like I'm not in the mood to watch that many TV shows or be on my phone that much. I think doing the swapping my screen time for reading video, which was maybe like 2 videos ago, if you haven't seen that, you can check it out. That really helped me with getting over my TikTok addiction. I'm still not 100% there yet. Like I think I'm on my phone way too much, but it's been so good. I think my average TikTok screen time has been like an hour and a half, which is so much better than what it was 2 weeks ago. I am currently reading Heartless Hunter. I started that in my last video and I am almost through with it. I'm on chapter 44, page 304. I'm loving this book, but I'm also in the mood for something else now. Like, I've read this majority of last week, like a few days, and I don't know, I kind of just want to pick up something else now. I really do like the story. I think, well, here's the thing, I'm not obsessed with the plot, but I really enjoy the characters a lot, and I like all the dynamics between them. There's not too many characters in this book, I think. I feel like with fantasy books especially, you often just get like a buttload of characters to follow, and it's kind of hard sometimes to differentiate or keep track. I think especially after reading the Red Rising series, which if you've read that, you know how many characters are in that freaking book, and how they have different names sometimes that they get referred to as. This has been such a nice little change. Just like a really easy to follow kind of fantasy book. The story's pretty straightforward. It's a fantasy world with witches, but the witches have been kind of banished. There was a big revolution and now being a witch is kind of like illegal. So there are all these witch hunters, right? We are following Rune, who is a witch. Obviously that's like a secret. She spends her nights trying to save other witches, free them from the witch hunters. She's like a bit of a bad bitch witch Batman kind of a vibe. And then we have her love interest, who is a witch hunter. It's like an enemies to lovers type situation. They're kind of pursuing each other under false pretenses. Both of them have ulterior motives, which is so fun to read about because it's not a case where, I don't know, I like that they're both plotting. I like a bit of intrigue like that. It's fun. It's fun. No one really has the upper hand between the two, which I kind of like reading about. It's missing a little something, but it's starting to rile up a bit. So I'm going to sit and finish this. I also have some books here that I have interest in. These are like potential reads, but I might also just only read Kindle reads. I don't know what's gonna happen. Rebel Witch, which is the next book in the series. Silver Elite. I was with my dad on Saturday and I suddenly had the urge to buy a new book, but I'm on a book buying ban. I really don't need any more books, but I just felt like I wanted one, and so I was like, oh Dad, can we go to the bookstore just to look? I had ulterior motives, I cannot lie. I knew damn well that if we went to the bookstore, he'd be like, okay, you can pick out a book. Oops. So I ended up going for this. One of my friends on TikTok, Izzy, she recently, did she buy this or did she just start this? I'm not sure. And it just made me want to read this. So I ended up getting that. Shout out Izzy. She also started her YouTube channel recently. So I'll link it down below. You guys should check it out. She makes really aesthetic bookish content, and she's my favorite TikToker. I don't care. Then we have Iron Gold, which I read the Red Rising original like trilogy, and then there's other books in the series as well that aren't like part of the original trilogy. That's all I know. I have no idea about this. Like, they came out a lot later, like a couple of years later, but I want to continue on with that. So maybe I'll pick it up in this video. Strange Houses, which I've been wanting to read, so I feel like maybe this week is the right time for it because I'm in the mood for something that's a bit of a breath of fresh air. Oh my god. I want something to change things up, and I think this might be the right fit. Also really in the mood to read Caraval finally. I watched back some of the vlogs from last summer where I was really like in my reading era, and I read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and I remembered how much I loved that book series. I binged it in like a week, I think, and I was like, I want to feel that high again. So maybe I'll do Caraval finally. Maybe in the mood to read Flawless. Not sure. I'm not a big romance reader, but that kind of just came to me. I was like, maybe I want to read that. I don't know. We're gonna see what I actually end up picking up. Might be something else entirely. It might be none of these books, you know. But the snow is still falling and I'm going to do some reading now. To say. There was a spicy scene just now, and I feel like I always talk about how I feel like I always criticize a lot of spicy scenes because I don't always like them. I just figured out why I like them sometimes and hate them other times. Let me cook. I mostly read fantasy books, so that's where I would read spicy scenes, right? And my thing with fantasy books, I think I just realized, is that when spicy scenes are written in a really crass and like vulgar way, which a lot of the time they are, low-key, think ACOTAR, think the Kindred's Curse saga, think freaking the Play the Prisoner series. Oh my freaking days. I don't like it. It's just, it takes me out of the world so much because we're in this beautiful fantasy world. The writers usually take their time to write about the world in such a beautiful way, using language that's really lovely and picturesque. And then they write spicy scenes that are just so vulgar and in your face. And I think that's what I don't like. I just don't think it fits. In this case, because I was reading this spicy scene just now and I was like, this is beautiful. I love this. I really like this. And I often say, you know, I loved in Divine Rivals how it wasn't super, it was mostly implied. It was like closed doors kind of spice. This isn't that. This is a pure spicy scene, you know? They're doing it. The way that it's written is just, it fits. It completely fits to the rest of the writing style. It doesn't take me out of the world or the scene at all because it's still written in the exact same way. It's still beautiful language. It's just well written, and I think that's my problem with spice. I need it to be well written, otherwise I don't want it. Otherwise it feels like I'm reading a freaking fan fiction AO3 piece of literature, which that's okay, and I'm not, you know, time and place you to my birthday dinner, I will always say this, I'm not against it. I really realize, I think specifically when it comes to fantasy books, I don't want it to be super vulgar and in my face. I want it to be well written like the rest of the freaking book. So that's my revelation right now. I'm on page 333. Make a wish. Let's continue on. But this is a really well written spicy scene. I love that I finally understood my problem with it. I'm so lost about what to read right now. Okay. Good evening, y'all. There's just something about me that is so type A that I just cannot let a good Monday go to waste. I cannot help but be productive. Anyway, I am struggling right now because I don't know what to read. And for once in my life, it's not that I can't find anything that sounds good, but rather there are too many options. There's so many things that I want to read right now. I did think I was going to pick one of the 3 books that I have here. I already mentioned them earlier, so I won't be going into them again. But now all of a sudden I'm craving a Kindle read, and not just any, but there are 3 specific ones. I would love to do Project Hail Mary because it just sounds so good to me right now. I would love to do, what's the other one? Daggermouth, would love to do that. Or I would love to do, this is controversial because it's a reread, If We Were Villains. Because here's the thing with that. I read that years ago because The Secret History is my favorite book and people often compare the two. So after reading The Secret History, I read If We Were Villains, and I hated it because if you've read The Secret History and it became one of your favorite books of all time and then you read If We Were Villains, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like the Temu version. It's still a great book, it's just not as good as The Secret History. But then I saw someone read it yesterday in a reading vlog. If We Were Villains, that is. And they loved it. They had read The Secret History, they had loved The Secret History, and then they read If We Were Villains. That's the thing, they were just normal about it. I can never be normal about anything, so I constantly compared the two. And her loving that book just made me want to read it again. I am dying to read The Secret History again, and I'm trying not to because, as I've mentioned literally every single time I speak, it's my favorite book. It's my favorite book of all time, and I don't want to waste. No, like I don't want to let it go to waste. Like I don't want to read it too many times because what if it just loses its magic at some point? And I did reread it last January, I think. I'm not entirely sure because I didn't have it logged, and then yesterday I looked at my Goodreads when I last updated, and I updated it January 23rd or something, 2025, and I was like, fuck, that means I read it last year, which means I don't really want to read it again this year. I try not to read it every year, you know? So I'm like, instead, maybe I'll just read If We Were Villains. But then I'm like, okay, but then you're going into it with the expectation of The Secret History again, and you're going to compare it to The Secret History again, and you're probably going to hate it again. So I don't know if that's like really dumb and stupid, but I think it's a good piece of work by itself. Okay, anyway, let me not think about it too much, low-key. I do have the physical version of this book, but I feel like reading that right now on my Kindle. I don't have to read the entire thing because I've already read it. Like if I only want to like get into the mood and like read a couple of chapters of this, maybe that's what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm going to pick up something else after and I'm like, oh, actually I don't want to read this, whatever. But I saw it was on Kindle Unlimited. Did I say that already? Anyway, I'm going to just read it. I'm excited. I haven't read this in 2 or 3 years. So and it is, like I said, like it's a good book, and I'm in the mood for dark academia. Mama said because don't cry. I hate one thing about it. Me when I hate something. One thing I hate about this book is that one of the characters is in fact called Richard. That is not allowed. It's already so similar to The Secret History. Why? Okay. What came out first? Surely The Secret History came out first because that came out in the 90s or something. Because my dad read it, guys. By the way, that's why I think why it's on my mind lately. My dad read it and he reviewed it for his TikTok. I don't want to talk about it. Obviously, I'm the one who's editing all this TikTok, so I have to edit that this week, and I'm dreading having a look at his TikTok of like what he said about the book because it's my favorite book. My dad hates. He's like me. If you think I'm a hater when it comes to reviewing books, you haven't met my dad. Like, he's even worse than me. But anyway, I'm scared. Okay, anyway, okay, shut up. This is its own piece of literature. Do not compare. I just found out you can take pictures with this camera. That's news to me, girl. It's one of those nights where I know I need to eat, but I don't want to stop reading. So now we're here. Can y'all see this setup right now? Yeah. I look like I just woke up from the dead. I want a moment of silence for how good this coffee looks right now. It's the next day. I had a bit of a slow morning this morning. Okay. It's crazy how as women we can tell what part of our cycle we're in when we just let ourselves be in tune with our body. Because my period tracking app has been telling me that I've been in my luteal phase the last 3 days, and that's just not the case. I could tell from the way I was feeling that I was absolutely ovulating. And then yesterday I even journaled about how I could literally feel my hormone shift, and I knew that I would wake up and be in my luteal phase. Like I could just feel it. Anyway, back to books. Let's try this first actually. So I made oh my god, I never made this before. I wanted to make a brown sugar shaken espresso with like cinnamon and salt, but I wanted to skip out on the sugar because I've been having a bit of a tooth problem, but I used date syrup instead. Let's see. It tastes exactly the same. This is delicious. It tastes just like a brown sugar shaken espresso. As for the books, I never actually gave you an update on Heartless Hunter, I don't think, so I'm going to do that right now. I ended up giving this 4 stars, basically just because it didn't have that certain something, that je ne sais quoi. if you will. As we've already established, there are tropes in this book that I don't personally like as a reader, such as enemies to lovers and also just like witch fantasies. With that being said, me rating this 4 stars just goes to show how good of a book this is, because if you are actually a fan of those 2 tropes in fantasy books, you're gonna love this. This is a great read, but it's just like not my favorite, if you know what I mean. So anyway, I feel like I already said everything I have to say on this book. I'm also a big Alex fan. I think that's all I need to say. Moving on, If We Were Villains. I actually dug out my physical copy for you guys as well. I ended up seeing on Goodreads that I read this in October 2023. Not Goodreads, on my book list. I keep a book list in my notes. I finished this morning. I read, I would say maybe like 60% last night and then 40% this morning. And it's pretty awesome. I ended up rating this 4 stars as well. I did rate it previously on my Goodreads 3 stars. This was so much better than I remembered it being. I think that I just kind of feel bad for this book. I think I already mentioned it a little bit, but every time people speak about this book, it is in comparison to The Secret History, which is fair to a certain extent because of just how similar they are, but it is so sad that this work of fiction cannot be viewed as its own thing, and I can't help but compare it either because I love The Secret History, like I said 200,000 times. It is my favorite book, so I can't help but compare the 2. Yesterday I tried to really read it from this point of view of it being its own thing, which feels impossible, but when I do make the effort, it is a really good book regardless. I wrote this in my Goodreads review. It's like the younger sister of The Secret History, which I know I am now comparing the 2 again, but I just can't help myself. I just can't help myself. It's almost like the YA version. Not that this has, I mean, this also has a lot of dark themes that I wouldn't necessarily want in a YA book. It kind of feels like The Secret History without the literary weight and sustenance of The Secret History. I think if you're looking for a really good piece of literature, The Secret History is the better option between the 2. But then there's also this thing of like, there doesn't need to be a decision made between the 2. You can also read this as well. But if you're going into this, don't expect this incredible intellectual read, but rather just a fun kind of murder mystery, dark academia vibe. I realized I never spoke about what this book is about. It is about The Secret History, but with theater. It is about a group of students who all attend this like prestigious college, and they are training in Shakespearean theater. It's a really, really small group of students who get to do that. So they're like 7 kids in one class, and they're all living together as well on campus. So they're a very tight-knit group, and they have very messy sort of dynamics amongst themselves. When we meet our protagonist, Oliver, he is in prison 30 years later, and he's about to get released. He meets with the detective that was assigned to his murder case, and the detective, I think, is like about to retire or something, and like I said, Oliver's about to be released. They meet, and the detective's basically like, please, for the love of God, just tell me what actually happened that night. And then you read about them in college. So obviously there was a murder. And you find out all about it throughout the book. Obviously his conviction didn't pan out in the way that it was supposed to. So if you're in the mood for that, totally pick it up. It's a really good read. It's a fun read. It's fast paced. It's great. Now I want to read The Secret History again. Oh my god. I love The Secret History so much. I do have to say, I loved Oliver and James's dynamic a lot in this book. And maybe it's reminiscent of Henry and Richard in The Secret History, but also, oh my god, I can't help but compare. I can't help but compare. They're just so similar. In The Secret History, we're also following a group of college students in like this really fancy school. And instead of theater, they're studying Greek. And there's also a murder, basically. There's also a murder, and we find out about how it got to that point. And who gets murdered. I mean, you find out who gets murdered on the first page in The Secret History, which is different to If We Were Villains, because you don't really know who gets murdered until like a little bit into the book. But it's very hard for me to differentiate between the 2 books. Like, it's hard to view them as their own thing. I just book for so long. I spent, like I said, all day doing fuck all. Basically, I was in bed most of the day. I read a bit. I did a hip mobility workout, which I need to do so much more than I'm doing right now. and I took a shower, and now it's already like the afternoon. But I said to myself, I'm going to have a really slow morning and then I'm going to have an afternoon of reading, which honestly, is there anything better? I don't think so. It's also great, like now that I'm in my Leo phase, I just want to sit down and read and do nothing else. This coffee is giving me life again. Oh my freaking God. I'm trying to decide if I want to do Kindle or physical. I think right now it's really between these two. I think I can definitely finish Strange Houses in one sitting, but I can't tell if I'm in the mood for that or Caraval. I'm starting with this because I picked it up first. Oh, I thought it was later than it is. It's 1 p.m. So I have all afternoon to read. That's awesome. Oh, what's going on? I have to keep reading, but I'm grossed out. This shit's crazy. Huh. That book was awesome, bro. That was freaking awesome, dude. Holy crap. Holy crap. What the fuck? Uketsu is an enigmatic YouTuber and author specializing in horror mystery. Was exploded in the literary scene in Japan, becoming the country's best-selling author for good reason. He only ever appears online wearing a mask and speaking through a voice changer. His true identity is unknown. That was sick. Okay, so this is actually written by a YouTuber. That's so cool. This was fucking awesome. I finished it. It's been... Where's my phone? It's been 2 hours. This is freaking crazy, bro. What the fuck did I just read? I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I did expect it to be a bit freaky because, quite frankly, reading East Asian thriller / horror books, that tends to be the way I'm left, just being a bit like, what the fuck. But this was even cooler than that. I don't know, I almost, because of the way it's written, right, like especially at the beginning, most pages are like this dialogue and then there's like floor plans. I kind of expected it to be a bit not that story driven, or like, I don't know, I didn't expect there to be this grand story because it's also very short, you know. But I really liked it. I do think the pacing's a bit weird because the first half, oh my god, how do I even explain what this is about? The author of this book comes across a floor plan of this house that's like really weird. There's like a dead space in the floor plan, like a room you can't enter basically. And so he starts investigating it. He's kind of like a journalist or something, I don't know. He starts investigating it and unravels all this lore about the house, and him and his friends start speculating about like what could have happened in the house and stuff. So that's like the first half, I feel like, and then the second half is pretty much just the actual lore, what actually went down. And it's not written in the same way. It's suddenly just like normal, just a normal book. Like that's the only thing that I found a bit weird, but I'm not like upset either. Like it's not that big of a deal, if that makes sense. That was freaking crazy. I don't know what to rate this, either 4 or 5 stars. That was freaky, bro. It depends how I digest this. I need to digest this book first. Definitely reminded me of The Vegetarian in just how I kept thinking, who comes up with this? That was so fun. I love reading a book in one sitting. Like there's just something about it that's just so fun. I am going to make some dinner. And then I will probably, maybe, start another book because I'm mentally ill. It's been like an hour and a half. I cooked and ate my dinner and I prepped my dessert. I have discovered the best dessert of all time, and it's my current hyperfixation food. I don't have like an actual hyperfixation meal at the moment. Like usually I fixate on like a breakfast and I'll eat that for months to years. I don't have that right now. I mean, I do eat the same thing every day regardless, but it's not the thing that I'm like obsessed with. I don't know how to explain it. Like I'll eat an avocado toast with a fried egg every day at the moment for breakfast, but I'm not like crazy about eating that. I'm crazy about one food at all times though, and at this point in time it is almond butter filled dates covered in chocolate, dark chocolate, with a bit of salt on top, putting that in the freezer. So incredible. I just made a few so I could have them today and tomorrow probably. I am going to, did I just turn this on or off? While I'm waiting for those to freeze, I have some juice here. Antioxidant juice, because I'm close to my period, right? Well, not that close. I'm going to start this now, I think. I just kind of want to sit here and read this. I'm excited. I forgot to update you guys, but it's been a few days. I did finish Caraval. How do I put it nicely? I did not like it. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that with a straight face. I don't know what it was about the book, but I just could not bring myself to care about the characters. Unfortunately, the plot it just didn't catch me. Like, it didn't really reel me in. I think I had really high hopes because of Once Upon a Broken Heart. I loved the books in that series. They were almost all of them were 5 stars, I think. And I kind of expected it to be a similar way, but Caraval is more of like a fantastical world. I don't know, Once Upon a Broken Heart has a little bit of like a Greek mythology vibe to it because it has gods. It also has time travel and it has these like fatal deaths. I don't know if Caraval can compare. I do have the other books in the series, so I will be continuing those because I did see on Goodreads that a lot of people were rating the sequel a lot higher than the first book. So maybe I will change my mind on this. But for now, I have to give it 3 stars, unfortunately. Overall, this was a really good reading week. I'm surprised that we did so many physical reads. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys next week. Bye. Love ya.